072 Spider-Man's Welfare Mission. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Just as he finished speaking, the system chimed in. Congratulations, host. Daily task complete, accompany Spider-Man Parker to school registration and forge a true friendship where you can share anything. Reward, 1000 experience points. Special task triggered due to Spider-Man Parker's recognition. Craft a web shooter for Spider-Man and design a Spider-Man suit. Tech limitations restrict you to a space-synthesized, stab-proof suit using special materials. Congratulations, host, you've obtained the web shooter blueprints. Task completion reward, strength and physical attributes *1, and 1000 experience points. Jiujiu was genuinely surprised. He hadn't expected bonus rewards after completing daily tasks, especially the web shooter, crucial for Parker and a powerful tool. He imagined the future, in battle, with a flick of the wrist, unleashing torrents of webbing to ensnare enemies, or using it to swing to safety. The thought was exhilarating. With that, Jiujiu feigned excitement, launching into a discussion about spiders and their characteristics, steering the conversation towards web spinning. Parker was immediately hooked. He mentally reviewed his spider-like abilities, but realized he lacked the most essential one, web slinging. Parker looked distressed, his face etched with concern. What am I going to do, Yi? I have almost all the spider abilities, but no webs. Am I a Spider-Man failure? Sensing his moment, Jiujiu puffed out his chest, pretending to know everything. No sweat. If you can't spin webs, we'll just build a tool to do it for you. He clapped Parker on the shoulder. It's cool, Parker, I said I'd help you. Making a web shooter isn't rocket science. The real trick is ensuring the artificial web can handle your weight and won't snap in action. Come on, Parker. Let's head to my workshop, and I'll help you build your very own web-slinging device. Jiujiu whisked away a dazed but excited Parker to the workshop. His workshop trip was a clever ruse. He had the web shooter blueprints, but creating a truly high-tech version required his space. It was simple, they could work separately, and before Parker could study the in-play web shooter, Jiujiu would just whip out the one from the space and hand it over, and successfully complete the system task. Jiujiu instructed Parker to pick a spot and start designing his own web shooter, using whatever materials he could find or order online. Parker, being the brainiac he was, sketched out a design in just an hour. Of course, because of material limitations, he couldn't actually build it yet. Jiujiu was in a different league. He assembled it in the space using the system-provided blueprints. Crafting a high-tech web shooter was a pain. It required a dozen-odd components, but luckily, the space had everything. He only needed to use the energy conversion furnace to manufacture the necessary materials. After crafting the parts, assembly was no problem in the mechanical space. In just over an hour, Jiujiu had 4 web shooters ready. Pulling the 4 web shooters from the space, Jiujiu looked at them with glee. The shooters resembled thin, coin-sized discs, all black. The material felt metallic but wasn't, and it was impossible to identify. But Jiujiu knew this black tech web shooter was waterproof, shockproof, and impact-resistant. Its performance eclipsed the web shooters Parker used in the Spider-Man movies. Its webbing capacity was greater, and its load-bearing capacity more than doubled. After admiring the 4 web shooters, he strapped 2 onto his wrists. With a click, wristbands extended from each side, securing the shooters to Jiujiu's wrists. Using the web shooters was easy. Just raise your hand and press your palm down to fire the web. It could also eject varying lengths of web, perfect for swinging from high places or shooting out smaller webs to ensnare enemies. As for the science behind it, Jiujiu didn't fully grasp it, nor did he care to. It was just a tool for him, and he couldn't rely on it in a fight. He was just Jiujiu, a mechanical hunter. Not Parker, let alone Spider-Man. Clutching the remaining 2 web shooters, Jiujiu approached Parker, who was still hunched over his drawings. He held them out. Check it out, Parker. The web shooters I designed. Pretty sweet, huh? Parker looked up, stunned. He grabbed the web shooters. Whoa. Seriously? Dude, You're amazing, Yi. I barely had an idea, and you already built it. You're a genius. Parker eagerly snatched the web shooters. He asked, how do I attach these? And how do they work? Yi Jiujiu raised an eyebrow. Just hold the web shooters against your wrists. They'll automatically attach and upload the operating instructions to your brain. Parker eyed the discs dubiously, then followed Yi Jiujiu's instructions, holding them to his wrists. The next moment, Parker was floored. The fact that they attached was expected, but the info uploaded to his brain was shocking. The web shooters felt incredibly advanced, and he was amazed by their abilities. 073 Spinner and Spider-Man Suit. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Seeing Parker's mix of excitement and shock, Yi Jiujiu, remembering the system's request for a Spider-Man suit, told him, Parker, get used to the web shooters first. I'm going to design you a real suit. Can't have Spider-Man running around in just a jacket, huh? With that, Yi Jiujiu turned and left, ignoring Parker's grateful look. This mission meant strength and physical attribute points, so he couldn't afford to mess it up. If he waited for Parker to design his own suit, the task would be over before it even started. Even though Parker's first attempt was, let's be honest, a total disaster, baggy like pajamas, it was still technically a suit. Back at his workbench, Yi Jiujiu sighed. He had plenty of materials, but none of the special, stab-resistant fabric he needed for a proper Spider-Man suit. Left with no choice, he decided to sketch out Parker in the Spider-Man suit from the movies. Turns out, Yi Jiujiu had a hidden talent for drawing. It wasn't exactly Marvel quality, but he captured the essence of the suit: the red, grid-patterned head covering, the silver-white goggles, and the tight-fitting suit, red on top and blue below, with a large spider logo on the chest. It looked fantastic. He found Parker busy shooting webs all over the walls, acting like a kid with a new toy, a slightly destructive one. Octavia's warning allowed Parker to see Yi Jiujiu approaching, a piece of paper in his hand. He immediately grinned. Yi, hey. Thanks so much. These web shooters are amazing. I feel like a real spider. It's so cool. Got embarrassed, Parker laughed awkwardly, noticing the web-covered walls. Yi Jiujiu didn't mind. If it wasn't for the system, he'd be doing the same thing. Before Parker could continue, Yi Jiujiu held out the drawing. Here, this is the suit I designed for you. What do you think? Parker's eyes lit up. He hadn't really believed Yi Jiujiu about the suit. When he saw the drawing, he gasped. Oh my god, Yi! Is this my future suit? It's awesome. I love it. I can't wait to wear it. Yi Jiujiu shrugged. Of course. I guarantee people will be screaming your name when you wear it. I'm planning on using that stab-proof fabric, so it'll be breathable and knife-resistant. I'll pick some up tomorrow. Parker suddenly went quiet, genuinely moved by Yi Jiujiu's efforts. Yi was the first to understand and encourage him after the mutation. He was incredibly grateful for the web shooters and the suit design. If Yi Jiujiu wasn't his age, Parker would have thought Yi Jiujiu was his father. He was taking such good care of him. Seeing Parker's expression, Yi Jiujiu frowned. Parker, what's wrong? Why the long face? Parker looked up, tears welling in his eyes, and hugged Yi Jiujiu. Thank you, Yi. You're so good to me. I don't know how to thank you enough. Yi Jiujiu realized he'd struck a chord. Feeling a little awkward, he wanted to explain, hey, it's not for you, bro. It's for the system, star, but he wasn't stupid enough to say that. Instead, he patted Parker on the back. Hey, don't sweat it. We're best friends, right? We'll be brothers, partners fighting side by side. Parker just nodded, a muffled and returned the pat, a little too enthusiastically. Even with Yi Jiujiu's enhanced strength, Parker's backslaps stung. Parker, still buzzing from his newfound powers, hadn't realized his own strength. He probably wouldn't notice anything amiss. If he calmed down later, he might wonder how a regular guy like Yi Jiujiu could take such a beating. After a while, Parker pulled himself together, stepped back, and looked at Yi Jiujiu. Yi, from now on, you're my best friend and my best partner. Let's do this together. Jiujiu nodded casually, thinking, yeah. We have to. Otherwise, Thanos is going to turn us all to dust. Grabbing Parker's arm, Jiujiu headed for the door. You need to get used to your powers and learn to control them. Let's go out tonight and really get a handle on this. Parker agreed instantly, and they headed out to the woods to practice. Seeing Parker leaping through the trees like a real spider, Jiujiu felt pleased and started formulating a battle plan. 2 hours later, after Parker had adapted to his abilities, they returned to Jiujiu's place. It was late, so they both went to sleep. 074 Take action. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The next day, they were up early, grabbed some breakfast, and headed to school together. Parker was a different guy today. He was radiating confidence, holding his head high and actually greeting people. He even dared to say hi to Gwen. Seeing Parker's transformation, Jiujiu was stoked for him. After school, they raced back to Jiujiu's place. Today was the day they'd sew the Spider-Man suit Jiujiu had designed. The materials were all bought and paid for. Jiujiu had managed to stash everything in his space and synthesize it into a special, super tough, stab-proof fabric. This stuff wasn't just stab-proof, it was lighter and stronger than anything on the market. Pure black tech thanks to the mechanical space. Of course, with that kind of material at his disposal, Jiujiu had prepped enough for a suit for himself, too. He figured he'd whip up a tight, stab-proof suit for himself in his free time. He didn't need to wear it out in the open, but it would make a sweet base layer. Extra protection never hurts, right? Sewing wasn't exactly Jiujiu's strong suit, so Parker took the lead at the sewing machine while Jiujiu helped out. A little over an hour later, Parker emerged from the bathroom, and Jiujiu's jaw dropped. It was Spider-Man himself, the hero who'd raked in billions at the box office, standing right there. Seeing one of his favorite Marvel characters come to life was a trip for Jiujiu. He remembered how the Spider-Man in this world got hooked up with that awesome nano-suit, courtesy of Tony Stark, Iron Man. He couldn't help but wonder, if Spider-Man here had his own mechanical hunter backing him up, would he even need Tony's help? And since Parker basically sees Tony as a father figure, what would Parker think of me? Lost in thought, Parker walked up to him, slapped him on the shoulder, and said, "Hey, dude. How cool does this outfit look?" And that snapped Jiujiu back to reality. He threw Parker a thumbs up and said, "Awesome, totally awesome." Right then, the system chimed in. Congratulations to the host for completing the special task. Craft a web shooter for Spider-Man, design a Spider-Man suit for Spider-Man. Technical limitations restrict creation to a stab-proof Spider-Man suit made of special materials within the space. Congratulations. The host has acquired the web shooter manufacturing schematics. Task complete. Reward, strength and stamina attributes *1, and 1000 experience. Ignoring the sudden urge to check out his attribute panel, Jiujiu got right back into the conversation with Parker. The topic, of course, was how to push Parker's powers even further. Since it was still early, Jiujiu had Parker ditch the mask and throw on a coat over the suit. They headed out to the woods, where Jiujiu was going to formally start Parker's combat training. Parker was a totally different guy now. His reaction time and strength were way beyond average. He could even hold his own against Jiujiu, whose physical stats were already at level 5. He picked up the fighting techniques fast. At first, Jiujiu was landing punches and kicks left and right, but before long, they were trading blows. The speed of his progress was insane. After hours of fighting practice, even these two superpowered guys were wiped out. They collapsed on the ground, too exhausted to move. Jiujiu was feeling pretty down about it. He grumbled to himself, "This Marvel world is nuts. These mutant superheroes are something else. I've got my physical stats up to level 11, and I'm getting worked by Parker. That's just not fair." He forgot that, no matter how strong Parker was, his power growth couldn't match Jiujiu's limitless potential. Once he hit a high enough level, Parker would be left in the dust. Even the Hulk, the big boss of Marvel heroes, wouldn't stand a chance, and Thanos would get completely wrecked one day. 2. They rested for half an hour before heading home arm in arm. They threw together some dinner, ate, and then went to bed. Finally alone in bed, Jiujiu opened up the system panel to check out his new stats. Name, Jiujiu. Age, 16 years old. Occupation, mechanical hunter. Level 11, 5700/11,000. Attributes: strength, 5. Stamina, 5. Intelligence, 13. Spirit, 13. Agility, 13. Speed, 21 m/s. Energy, 1300. 13 points/minute. Recovery speed, occupational talents and skills, 0.1. Intermediate combat master. 2. Intermediate mechanical master, pet, mechanical dog, wolf warrior. *2. Mount, chasing wind, special space, mechanical manufacturing space 1000 square meters. Schematics, 0. Special permissions, 0. Note, time travel function has 0 remaining uses. Note, the only mainline super god level mission, kill Thanos and his lackeys. 6 cosmic gems are rewarded for successful mission. Main world mission, get 50 million me gold to buy vibranium, and reward 1000 experience. World hidden mission 1, eradicate the Kingpin group, reward 1000 experience and 50 million cash. The attribute boost made Jiujiu happy for a split second, but then he got hung up on the system tasks, specifically, the last hidden task. Eradicate the Kingpin group, reward 1000 experience and 50 million cash. This ticked Jiujiu off. Why hadn't he seen that task before? All that wasted time. Eradicating the Kingpin group. How hard could it be? Take out Kingpin and a couple of his lieutenants, and the whole thing would crumble, right? Why bother with dealing with every single goon? Too annoyed to wait, Jiujiu didn't care that Parker was still in the house. He hopped out of bed, got dressed, and snuck out the window. What he didn't know was that as he landed on the ground, Parker, who looked like he was asleep, snapped his eyes open. Parker's supersensitive hearing picked up the sound of someone hitting the ground. He shot up in bed, ran to the window, and saw Jiujiu hurrying down the street. Confused, Parker muttered to himself, "Weird. Where's he going so late?" After thinking for a second, Parker quickly threw on the Spider-Man suit Jiujiu had made, pulled the mask on, and swung out the window. So, Jiujiu walked ahead, and Parker used his webs to swing from rooftop to rooftop, secretly following him. After leaving the street, Jiujiu flagged down a cab and told the driver to head to Hell's Kitchen. 075 Killing Mission. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Seeing Jiujiu hop in the cab, Parker's confusion went into overdrive. It wasn't that he thought she'd do anything illegal, he just worried about her safety. He immediately started swinging between the skyscrapers, giving chase. They arrived near Hell's Kitchen practically neck and neck. Once inside, Jiujiu found her stash, threw on some sweats, a helmet, grabbed a crossbow and pistol, and headed straight for Kingpin's headquarters. Perched on a rooftop overlooking the scene, Parker watched Jiujiu's transformation, his mind reeling. He tailed her, needing to know what she was up to. Inside Hell's Kitchen, Jiujiu pulled out her phone, stuck it in her pocket, and popped in her earbuds. Sky's voice exploded in her ears. "Where the heck have you been? Ian. It's been days. 3 days. You finally come online." Jiujiu cut him off. "I've been busy," without missing a beat, she continued, mission change. "I'm going after Kingpin and his lieutenants, going straight for the kill. Monitor Kingpin's movements and keep me updated." "Got it." Sky, sprawled on his chair, one foot tucked under him, nearly choked on his coffee when he saw Jiujiu on the screen. After a sputter and a gulp, he managed, "Seriously? You're finally hitting Kingpin? Awesome. I've been waiting for this." The laughter died in his throat. "But you gotta be careful, Ian. Bullseye, Kingpin's top assassin, is back. Word is he's gunning for you. Watch yourself. The guy's lethal." Jiujiu felt a jolt. She knew about Bullseye, knew he was dangerous. In the show, even Daredevil almost bought it thanks to him. She couldn't underestimate him. Despite her enhanced abilities, she wasn't invincible. A well-placed shot from Bullseye could take her down, but she wasn't scared, not with the mechanical wolves. They'd be her shield. Thanks for the heads up, S. I'll be extra careful. Just then, the system pinged. Kill mission triggered. Eliminate Kingpin's top assassin, Bullseye. Reward, 500 experience points and mechanical fly blueprint *1. Jiujiu was stoked. A mechanical fly? Sounded like a mini-drone. Even without knowing the specs, she was willing to bet it would blow a regular drone out of the water. Hiding her excitement, she followed Sky's intel, dodging Kingpin's hidden patrols, heading for the Kingpin Group building. After a half-hour of sneaking around, the towering Kingpin Group building loomed into view. Despite being past midnight, it blazed with light. Jiujiu raised a hand, summoning Wolf Warriors 1 and 2 from her pet space. The sudden appearance of the mechanical dogs nearly sent Parker tumbling off the building. He was floored. Okay, he could maybe understand the makeup and disguises, but conjuring 2 full metal dogs out of thin air. That blew his mind. Then he got excited. Jiujiu wasn't just some regular girl. This could change everything. He watched the dogs nuzzle her affectionately. They didn't act like robots, they were like real pets. Oblivious to Parker, Jiujiu patted Wolf Warrior 1 and 2, then ordered them to infiltrate the building. Wolf Warrior 1 immediately moved out front, scouting the path, while number 2 stayed back, guarding her 6. Meanwhile, in a lavish office inside, Kingpin reclined in his custom-made chair, feet propped on the desk, a lit cigar in his right hand. He swirled the red wine in his left, eyeing it, and asked Bullseye, who was throwing toothpicks at a target. Any word on her? When can we take her out? Bullseye paused, then resumed his throwing, each toothpick hitting the target with a satisfying thwack. Anyone watching would immediately peg him as a martial arts master. The target was already riddled with at least 15 toothpicks, all clustered around the bullseye. Imagine the force needed to drive a toothpick deep into the target from 15 feet. Bullseye stopped, turned his shaved head, rubbed it, and grinned. Relax, Kingpin. Soon as she shows her face in Hell's Kitchen, I'll get to work. I won't kill her right away, though. First, I'll cripple her, then I'll take my time, draw it out so she suffers slowly. Kingpin finally cracked a smile on his greasy face, took a drag of his cigar, and exhaled a cloud of smoke. That's why I trust you, Bullseye. You've never let me down, and I expect this will be no different. 076 Battle against Bullseye. You are listening at novelfull.audio. At that moment, the room lit up with flashing police lights and a blaring alarm. Kingpin, about to sip his red wine, froze. Disbelief flashed across his face before he turned to a subordinate, his voice cold and devoid of emotion. Tell me, he demanded, what the hell is going on? The subordinate, beads of sweat popping on his forehead, fumbled for his walkie-talkie. Ed, what happened? Why is the alarm going off? He released the button, and a panicked voice crackled through the speaker. Boss, we're under attack. It's Aya. The scream was cut short by a burst of static electricity. Silence hung heavy in the room. Then, Bullseye stepped forward, addressing Kingpin, whose face was like thunder. Relax, boss. Whoever it is, I'll take care of them. He walked over to a coffee table and began selecting small, sharp knives, slipping them into hidden pockets all over his body. Jiujiu would have called him a freak if he'd seen this. The table was loaded with weaponry. Throwing knives, steel nails thick as chopsticks, toothpick-sized needles, steel boomerangs, saw-toothed darts, even ninja kunai and shurikens. Finally, he grabbed a few ordinary daggers. Securing them to his thighs and inside his boots, he had to have 100 hidden weapons on him, enough to make anyone's skin crawl. Fully armed, Bullseye opened the door, his eyes scanning the area, hunting for his prey. Meanwhile, under Wolf's cover, Jiujiu had already breached Kingpin's building. Any thug who showed their face was immediately taken down by the 2 wolves and Jiujiu's crossbow. the guys downstairs were just low-level muscle, no real threat, and Jiujiu felt no remorse taking them out, but across the street on the rooftop, Parker was stunned. He hadn't expected Jiujiu, seemingly just a harmless high school kid, to be so ruthless, killing like it was second nature. He didn't know that before The Walking Dead, Jiujiu had never killed either. But after mowing down countless zombies and fighting the Salvation Army, he'd gotten used to it. It wasn't that Jiujiu was cold-blooded. He avoided killing when he could. But these guys weren't like that. If he didn't take them out, they'd jump at the chance to kill him. He couldn't risk getting blindsided while dealing with Kingpin and Bullseye. Bottom line, he couldn't afford to be soft. He'd kill who he had to for his own safety. With the first floor cleared by Jiujiu and the wolves, the remaining thugs either hadn't made it downstairs yet or were too freaked out by the efficiency of Jiujiu's approach. Being a Kingpin gangster didn't make you fearless. This wasn't a movie. Some were, most weren't. Bullseye appeared on the second floor railing, spotting Jiujiu in his cheap sweatsuit, flanked by the wolves. He didn't underestimate Jiujiu, but he was fascinated by the dogs. These metal robots were surprisingly agile, rivaling any real canine. The all-mechanical power gave them incredible strength, speed, and bite. Best of all, they were bulletproof. Rounds couldn't even scratch their surface. He'd seen Wolf launch a 300-pound bruiser halfway across the room. The guy hadn't moved since. Witnessing their power made Bullseye want them. With those dogs, who would dare mess with Kingpin? As Jiujiu watched Bullseye slowly approach, he braced himself, ready for an attack at any moment. When Bullseye was about 30 meters away, his hand flicked. A dagger shot towards Jiujiu's right hand like a beam of light. Jiujiu, his senses razor-sharp, saw the dagger's trajectory and reacted in a split second. He shifted his upper body 5 centimeters to the left. The dagger whizzed past his arm and clothes, burying itself in the wall behind him with a satisfying thunk, then clattered to the floor. Bullseye's eyes lit up. He actually clapped. Few people could dodge his throws at that range, and Jiujiu was one of them. Jiujiu glared at Bullseye. That smirk made him want to rearrange his face. Bullseye leaned against the railing. "Mysterious man," he said, "I've been waiting for you. Now, enjoy the show." He flicked his wrists, launching 2 more daggers, one aimed at each of Jiujiu's legs. Then, Bullseye vaulted over the railing, landing without a roll, completely unfazed by the fall. His skills went beyond just throwing knives. Jiujiu tracked the daggers. Before they reached him, he launched himself into the air, spinning twice before landing. The daggers passed harmlessly beneath him. Landing, Jiujiu immediately retaliated, raising his mechanical crossbow and firing 3 bolts in quick succession. The bolts formed a tight cluster, giving Bullseye nowhere to hide. He assumed Bullseye would be seriously hurt, if not dead. But what happened next defied all expectation. 077 Trap Success. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Bullseye backpedaled fast, waving his hands frantically. Silver flashes, too quick for the eye to follow, shot from his hands. The air buzzed as 3 crossbow bolts were intercepted by his thrown steel darts with a rapid ting, ting, ting. Bullseye reacted just as fast as Jiujiu. After knocking down the bolts, he flung his hands again, for black streaks zipped through the air. Ninja-style kunai aimed at Jiujiu's head, eyes, chest, and gut. They were almost as fast as the crossbow bolts. Luckily, Jiujiu's physique was a 5, giving him lightning-fast reflexes that Bullseye couldn't match. He dropped the crossbow, whipped out his 2 dogleg knives, and with a flurry of movement, deflected all 4 kunai to the ground with a clang, clang, clang. He wasn't done yet. Bullseye, knowing 4 kunai wouldn't cut it, tossed another hidden weapon. It whistled through the air. Jiujiu focused, a silver boomerang. This was trouble. Plenty of people used boomerangs, but few mastered them. Bullseye was a master. His boomerangs weren't just hard to block, they could smack you down. Jiujiu wasn't about to quit or run. He tracked the boomerang, ready to meet it head-on, and ordered Wolf Warrior 1 to charge Bullseye, keeping him from throwing more weapons. As Wolf Warrior 1 barreled toward Bullseye, the boomerang arced in front of Jiujiu. He swung his knife, and ding, the boomerang spun away. It looped in a wide semicircle, and came back, aimed at the back of his neck. Meanwhile, Wolf Warrior 1 was closing in, only 30 feet from Bullseye. Seeing the robot, Bullseye's eyes gleamed. He waved his hands, sending 4 steel darts at Wolf Warrior 1, targeting the eyes and head. He was probing for weaknesses, seeing if the control center was located there, but the upgraded Wolf Warrior's armor shrugged off the darts. It kept charging, unfazed, the darts bouncing off its head with ding ding dang dang. Bullseye scrambled back, spotting a weakness: the joints in its limbs, even upgraded, Wolf Warrior's joints were vulnerable. A well-placed hit could seriously limit its movement, even stop it. He didn't hesitate. He launched 2 shurikens and 2 steel darts, all in a split second, aimed at Wolf Warrior's limb joints. Jiujiu had blocked 3 boomerangs, but they weren't losing any force. This was a pain. He knew the principle: each block just redirected the boomerang's energy. But if he didn't block, it would hit him. What to do? Then, he thought of Tai Chi. Yeah. Tai Chi's principle was to deflect force, use force against force. Jiujiu's eyes lit up. Boomerang spun, using force to come back. Why not use Tai Chi principles, find the center of the boomerang's force, and neutralize it? He perked up, carefully watching the boomerang, pinpointing its center, ready to catch it with the tip of his knife. He heard a series of clangs and booms but didn't have time to look. Through the Wolf Warrior's link, he knew its limbs had been hit, immobilizing it, stopping its attack. Jiujiu's head pounded. Wolf Warrior 1 had been with him the longest, back in the Walking Dead world. He didn't see it as a machine, but a partner. But now wasn't the time to get distracted. He couldn't call Wolf Warrior 2 for backup. Wolf Warrior 2 was busy holding off the gang members with guns. Without it, Jiujiu would be facing bullets along with Bullseye's trick shots. At least he had a plan for the boomerang. He wasn't an expert, but his peak physical condition gave him incredible control. As the boomerang spun back, Jiujiu moved. His right hand shot out, the dogleg knife meeting the center of the boomerang with perfect accuracy. The knife tip followed the boomerang spin, holding it in place. Bullseye froze, forgetting to attack. Even Parker, who had been following, stopped in his tracks, stunned. The boomerang slowed, then stopped completely, losing all power and falling from the knife tip. Jiujiu exhaled. Without hesitation, he raised his hand and fired 3 crossbow bolts at Bullseye. Bullseye snapped back to reality, throwing steel darts to intercept, but Jiujiu dropped the crossbow, grabbed a mechanical trap from thin air, and hurled it at Bullseye. Then, he dove behind a pillar, taking cover. Bullseye knocked down the bolts and saw the black thing coming. He instinctively threw a dagger. Clang! The dagger hit it. The black thing paused, then it didn't fall, it hovered, whizzing in the air. Then, as Bullseye stared, it unleashed a barrage of rapid-fire shots that made his skin crawl. He couldn't dodge, couldn't escape, didn't even try. His eyes were wide with confusion. 078 Big Fat Kingpin. You are listening at novelfull.audio. A series of pop sounds filled the air as at least 10 steel balls and 3 arrows slammed into his body from head to abdomen. Barely 3 seconds later, the trap emptied, clattered to the ground, and Bullseye's body followed, landing flat on his back. Jiujiu peeked out from behind a pillar, glanced at Bullseye's corpse, and heard the system notification. Congratulations, host, for completing the assassination mission. Eliminate Kingpin's top assassin, Bullseye. Mission complete. Reward, 500 experience points and a mechanical fly manufacturing blueprint. With the mission done, Jiujiu finally exhaled, immediately ducking back behind the pillar. He stashed the empty trap in his dimensional space and hurried over to Wolf Warrior 1, who was lying on the ground. After a quick inspection, Jiujiu breathed a sigh of relief. He pulled the shurikens and steel darts from Wolf Warrior 1's joints, then beamed the mech wolf into the dimensional space. No time for repairs now, he'd deal with it later. Jiujiu stood, grabbed the mechanical crossbow, and bolted for the stairwell. Screams and gunfire echoed from the stairwell. Jiujiu knew it was Wolf Warrior 2's crew cleaning up Kingpin's men. After Jiujiu left, Parker showed up in the building. The carnage made him gag. He bent over, his masked face contorted, and heaved a few times. Luckily, Parker fought it down. Ignoring the bodies, he rushed to the stairwell. He couldn't stand the thought of his best friend going it alone. He was going to help Jiujiu. He didn't know who these guys were, but it was clear they were bad news, probably gang members. The rifles gave it away. Neither of them knew that Sky was watching Parker, practically vibrating with excitement. From the camera feed, she clearly saw Parker swinging between buildings like Spider-Man, shadowing Jiujiu. She kept her mouth shut about it, eager to see Jiujiu tangle with this spider freak and get his butt kicked. With Jiujiu's help, Wolf Warrior 2's team quickly mopped up the thugs in the building. Soon, the duo reached the floor where Kingpin was holed up. Over 30 of his men, armed with rifles, machine guns, even rocket launchers, guarded the corridor. Jiujiu wasn't about to rush in. He crouched by the stairwell wall, pulled out a small mirror, and cautiously peeked around the corner. The mirror showed him Kingpin's men packed in the corridor. Jiujiu pulled back, thinking, lucky break. His zombie world survival instincts were paying off. Rushing in would have been suicide. Knowing what he was up against, he didn't have to waste time. His trap was a perfect crowd control weapon. Time to use it. Jiujiu grabbed a trap from his dimension and tossed it from the stairwell into the corridor. Kingpin's alert guard spotted the black object and yelled, "Grenade!" Everyone instinctively hit the deck. The trap bounced off the wall, arced through the air, and unleashed a storm of arrows and steel balls that hammered Kingpin's men. Screams erupted. Jiujiu silently counted to 3 and gave Wolf Warrior 2 the order to charge. He also grabbed his mechanical crossbow, loaded with fresh steel balls, and burst from the stairwell. The empty trap clattered to the floor. Jiujiu and Wolf stormed into the corridor, blasting any of Kingpin's men still moving. The wolves didn't hold back, using teeth, claws, and stingers to finish off anyone still breathing. In just over 10 seconds, a man and his pet took out over 30 of Kingpin's men. He was on his own. Jiujiu wasn't underestimating Kingpin. He wasn't just muscle. Hard-won experience taught him one thing: underestimate any opponent, and you're dead meat. Picking their way through the bodies, Jiujiu and Wolf 2 reached a door. Jiujiu stayed behind the wall while Wolf 2 crashed the door. With a bang, the door splintered. Wolf Warrior 2 charged in, and the sounds of combat erupted. Strangely, there were no gunshots, just the clash of cold steel. Jiujiu looked into the room and saw a massive, 2-meter-tall black man, built like a tank, in a huge office, fighting Wolf Warrior 2 with a cane. Jiujiu was stunned. Even with its metal body and 1,500 kilograms striking power, the mech wolf couldn't get close to him. Even the tail stings couldn't hurt him. Jiujiu stepped into the room, mechanical crossbow ready. The mocking look on Kingpin's face made him uneasy. Kingpin, still fighting Wolf Warrior 2, said, "Would you mind calling off your damn metal mutt? You see it's no match for me. Can't we talk?" Jiujiu ignored Kingpin's request, ordered Wolf Warrior 2 to keep him busy, shrugged, and said, "No can do. I'm not giving the bad guy a chance to pull something. Just spit out your last words." "I'm all ears." Kingpin's eyes flashed with surprise and anger, but he kept his attention on Wolf Warrior 2, saying, "Can you at least tell me who you are? Why are you trying to kill me? As far as I know, I haven't done anything to you, right?" Wary of a trick, Jiujiu scanned the room, making sure it was safe, then replied, "I'm not telling you who I am. You're right, you didn't do anything to me. I just have a job to do." Kingpin didn't seem surprised, figuring that was the answer, and said, "Oh, a job? Bounty hunting? How much are you getting? 100 grand? 1,000,000? I'll double it. You'll have it as soon as you leave here." 079 Spider-Man makes things worse. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Jiujiu rolled his eyes. He thought it was cliché, like in every movie where the villain tries to bribe the assassin. He said with a sly grin, "Oh, so you're willing to pay. My fee is pretty steep, nothing crazy though." Jiujiu held up his left hand, palm open, and announced, 50 million. Jin Bing felt like he was being played. He, the city's biggest crime boss, had never hired a hitman, much less paid that much. Jiujiu was clearly messing with him, 50 million times 2. $100 million. That wasn't some foreign currency. That was 100 million American dollars. Not even he, with all his resources, could easily cough up that kind of cash. He had no idea Jiujiu wasn't kidding. The system had really promised him a $50 million reward. Jin Bing was done talking. He realized his only chance was to kill Jiujiu and that annoying robot dog. He threw his head back and roared in pain. His already huge body started growing, finally stopping at almost 8 feet tall. His shirt ripped apart, hanging from his massive frame like rags. Not only was he taller, but he was wider, too. Jiujiu guessed he had to be pushing 900 pounds, then, the newly swollen Kingpin tossed aside his crutches like toothpicks, tore off the remaining scraps of shirt, and charged at Wolf Warrior 2. Wolf Warrior 2 didn't flinch. It sprang forward, teeth bared, ready to attack. Jiujiu watched in surprise, secretly relieved he'd kept his guard up. He hadn't assumed Kingpin was helpless and hadn't let Wolf Warrior 2 relax. Seeing Kingpin now, he knew he'd be toast if he'd let his guard down. He would have been facing this monster directly. Kingpin would have crushed him instantly, and since Jiujiu didn't know what kind of powers Kingpin possessed, he hesitated to attack. He needed to see what War Wolf could do first. Sure enough, Kingpin was operating on a whole other level. Wolf Warrior's metal fangs, claws, and tail spines couldn't even scratch him. It was like he had the Hulk's skin. As for strength, Jiujiu figured it was nowhere near the Hulk's. Wolf Warrior, with its 3,000 pounds of attack force, was holding its own. That was a relief. At least War Wolf was keeping Kingpin busy. It also explained how Kingpin ran Hell's Kitchen and attracted freaks like Bullseye. Kingpin was a freak himself. Even with the advantage, Jiujiu retreated, watching carefully in case Kingpin broke away and charged him. He moved about 30 feet away, picked up the mechanical crossbow, and started looking for an opening, specifically, for Kingpin's eyes, ears, and other vital spots. Suddenly, a figure flashed through the doorway. Jiujiu whirled around, crossbow raised. It was Parker, in his Spider-Man suit. SPI, Spider-Man. What are you doing here? He exclaimed. He quickly caught himself, nearly blurting out Parker's name. Parker, seeing the crossbow, threw up his hands. Whoa, easy there. I followed you. You're such a bonehead. You go off to fight bad guys without telling me. And you call me your best friend. And you've got all these powers and weird abilities, why don't you share? Do you even like me? Huh. You owe me an explanation, you know. Or else. After his rant, Parker spotted Kingpin and gasped. Holy cow. What is that thing? How is he so huge? Is that even a human? Jiujiu rolled his eyes. So much for keeping a secret. He couldn't hide it anymore. He'd been too reckless, forgetting how sensitive Spider-Man's senses were. He'd led Parker right to him. Still watching Kingpin, he said, I have no idea. My guess is it's some kind of mutation. The cause is still unknown. All we know is his strength is enhanced, but it's still under 3,000 pounds. But his defense is way up. He's practically invulnerable. Parker's eyes lit up. He walked closer, practically buzzing with excitement. Whoa. That's awesome. Let me try. Parker shot webs from both hands, aiming for Kingpin's hands. Jiujiu cursed under his breath. Even though War Wolf had him occupied, Kingpin was still aware of his surroundings. Jiujiu had noticed this when he'd been firing the crossbow. Kingpin was able to dodge the steel balls or deflect them with other parts of his body. As Jiujiu suspected, Kingpin was still able to defend himself even when fighting the Wolf Warrior. As the spider webs approached, he grabbed War Wolf's front paws. With a roar, he swung the robot dog in front of him, using it as a shield. The War Wolf's mouth and hind legs got caught in the webbing. The webbing was no joke. Jiujiu knew it took at least 4,000 pounds of force to tear through it. 080 Spider Web Control. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Damn it, Spider-Man, are you even trying to help? Attack him, now. Don't let him get any closer. Jiujiu yelled. Wolf Warrior, now under mind control, was no match for Kingpin. Kingpin cackled, then with a massive heave, lifted Wolf Warrior's metal body high above his head and slammed him into the concrete floor. The impact was deafening, leaving a crater in the floor. Then he tossed Wolf Warrior downstairs. Luckily, Wolf Warrior was made of tough metal. Even after that brutal slam, he was still in one piece, though breaking free of the webbing to use him as a human shield was out of the question. Jiujiu, armed with a mechanical crossbow, fired a barrage of bolts at Kingpin, trying to keep him from reaching them. Writing this, I hope readers will remember our domain name Taiwan Novel Network. Seeing the situation, Parker knew he'd messed up. Whoops. Sorry, my bad. He blurted out, guilt flooding his face. Before Jiujiu could stop him, Parker charged toward Kingpin. Jiujiu groaned. Parker, despite his enhanced strength and agility, was way out of his league against the transformed Kingpin. It'd be like watching the Hulk use Parker as a baseball bat. As if on cue, Parker, muttering apologies, rushed Kingpin, who was blocking his face with one hand. Quick as a flash, Parker shot a web at Kingpin's raised left hand. This time, the web stuck, gluing Kingpin's left hand to his face and finally stopping his advance. Seizing the opportunity, Jiujiu dropped the crossbow, raised his own wrist-mounted shooter, and joined in, blasting Kingpin with webs. Parker, seeing the web's effectiveness, whooped with excitement and kept firing, trying to completely immobilize Kingpin. Even though it was their first time fighting together, they had a natural synergy, one targeting Kingpin's upper body, especially his hands, the other aiming to wrap his legs, hoping to trap him completely. The effect was immediate. Even transformed, Kingpin wasn't strong enough, certainly not on par with the mutated lizard, Dr. Connors. Otherwise, their webs wouldn't have been able to hold him at all. Unfortunately, they both seemed to have overlooked one crucial thing: Kingpin's defenses. After they'd buried Kingpin in a mountain of webbing, leaving him unable to stand, they breathed a sigh of relief. But then came the sobering realization that Kingpin was completely vulnerable. Seeing Kingpin's left hand stuck to his face, Jiujiu just stared at Parker, speechless, wondering if he was intentionally sabotaging the mission. How was he supposed to kill Kingpin and complete the task now? Parker, blissfully unaware, struck a ridiculous pose, one hand raised triumphantly, the other bent at his head. Yeah. We did it. Spider-Man scores a major victory. Cheer for me. What should I call you? What's your superhero name? Jiujiu's face contorted in annoyance under his helmet. He glanced at Parker, then said flatly, "It's Ian. Just call me Ian. Spider-Man." He emphasized the last three words, clearly exasperated. Parker didn't even notice, still basking in the glory of their supposed victory. Just then, Sky's laughter crackled through the comms. Giggle. Awesome, Ian. Isn't it great having a sidekick? Who is he? Do you even know him? Spider-Man, huh? Does he do whatever a spider can? Huh, this is going to be fun. Jiujiu hung his head. With Parker around, there was no way he could keep his identity hidden from Sky. He'd been so careful to cover his tracks, but with Parker tagging along, Sky's hacking skills could easily pinpoint him. Sighing, Jiujiu said, Just call him Spider-Man, forget the name. You can think of him as our, future partner. Okay, gotta go. Can you keep the cops off my back? I need to finish this with Kingpin before they show up and mess things up. Got it. Don't worry. I'll handle the cops so you can make a clean getaway. Jiujiu nodded and walked over to Kingpin, squatting down. Kingpin was completely blind, his body tangled in webs. He thrashed around, but couldn't break free, like a fish caught in a net. Parker squatted beside him, looking at Kingpin, and asked Jiujiu, "Ian, are you still going to kill him? Why not just hand him over to the police? Killing him is a crime, you know." But without even looking up, Jiujiu replied, there's an old saying, you gotta chop the weed at the root. Meaning, if you want to get rid of evil, you have to eliminate the source. This guy is Kingpin. His crimes are so bad he deserves to die 1,000 deaths. Sending him to prison won't reform him, and it won't shut down his criminal empire. This world runs on money. Money can buy you a pardon. Spider-Man, you need to remember, with great power comes great responsibility. You're not just an ordinary person, so you have a duty to take out guys like Kingpin and protect innocent people from being victimized. Think about it. Then, Jiujiu looked down at Kingpin, muttering, that's weird, though. If he's really invulnerable, why did he transform and come after me when I broke in? An idea sparked in his mind. Kingpin's transformation must have a limit, probably how long it lasts. Realization washed over him. It had been 10 minutes since Kingpin transformed and the fight started. If he was right, Kingpin's transformation probably wouldn't last longer than half an hour. Feeling more confident, Jiujiu taunted Kingpin, gotta say, Kingpin, this transformation of yours is pretty impressive. It almost makes it impossible to kill you. But I bet it has a time limit, right? He paused, noticing Kingpin flinch, confirming his suspicions. He continued, let me guess, your transformation only lasts about half an hour. Am I right, Kingpin? 081 Jin Bing was frustrated until his death. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Jin Bing, clearly rattled by Jiujiu's words, started thrashing harder, letting out a muffled groan. Jiujiu grinned, sure he'd hit a nerve. He relaxed, knowing he could wait this out. Since it was still early, he got up to search the room. He was looking for Kingpin's safe. After all, buying vibranium from Wakanda wasn't cheap. After a thorough search, Jiujiu located the safe hidden behind a wall. For something like this, he figured, why not call in Werewolf 2? Parker had already seen what he could do, so there was no point in holding back. Werewolf 2 made short work of the safe, tearing it from the wall and storing it away. Parker was stunned. He never imagined Jiujiu was so money-hungry, not only killing Kingpin but looting his place as well. Still, Parker figured Jiujiu must have a reason and decided to keep quiet. He kept turning over Jiujiu's words, with great power comes great responsibility. Honestly, ever since he got his spider abilities, he'd been a mess of panic, excitement, and confusion. He was torn about his future. Should he hide his powers and go back to normal, or use them to fight bad guys like Jiujiu? Half an hour flew by. The webbing around Kingpin tightened, squeezing him down like a deflating balloon. His groans turned frantic, desperate pleas for mercy. Jiujiu stood over him, coldly raising the mechanical crossbow. As Kingpin shrank back to size, he pulled the trigger. Thwack, 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 thud, thud, thud. 3 shots fired in rapid succession. Jiujiu aimed for Kingpin's head, heart, and throat, each hit marked by a spurt of blood. Kingpin's body twitched and then went still. He died a pathetic death, never knowing who finished him off. He didn't even get a chance to curse or beg. He probably felt pretty screwed. As soon as Kingpin was dead, the system notification chimed in Jiujiu's head. Congratulations, host, for completing World Hidden Mission 1, eradicate the Kingpin group. Reward, 1,000 experience points and $50 million. Jiujiu exhaled in relief. He grabbed Parker and ordered Werewolf to lead the way. They hurried downstairs, left the Kingpin building, and, with Sky's help, booked it out of Hell's Kitchen. This time, they didn't bother avoiding Sky. They went straight back to Jiujiu's place. Later, in Jiujiu's bedroom, the two sat facing each other. After a long silence, Jiujiu sighed. Alright, Parker. What's on your mind? Parker looked up, studying Jiujiu intently. He took a deep breath. Why did you kill those guys? When did you get these powers? What can you do? What are your plans? The barrage of questions gave Jiujiu a headache. Where to even begin? Finally, he said. Parker. You don't think we're the only ones with special abilities, do you? Parker shook his head, confused. waiting for an explanation. Jiujiu glanced at him. You got your powers from a spider, right? Well, other people can get them too. Potions, bugs, animals, radiation, anything. So, the big question is, are these people good? No way. Some empowered people are good, some are bad, and some good people get pushed too far and corrupted. So what do we do? Do we become like them, ignore them, or use our abilities to protect the world? Parker's eyes widened. He'd clearly bought into the American dream of the lone hero. Jiujiu's words struck a chord. Without waiting for a response, he barreled on. This universe is dangerous. It's not just us regular people out there. There are aliens too. Some might be peaceful, some might be invaders. So, we're going to face a lot of enemies, mutants, aliens. My ability is to build high-tech machines to fight them, and creating those machines takes a lot of money, right? Parker nodded slowly, a little confused. Something felt off, but he couldn't put his finger on it. Seeing he had Parker hooked, Jiujiu pressed on. The reason I killed Kingpin and the others is because they had a lot of the money I need. Of course, the other reason is that Kingpin and his crew were awful people. Killing them was doing the world a favor. Trust me, I'm not going to use my power to mess with the world. I want you to join me. Will you help me fight the bad guys destroying the world? Parker jumped up, nodding eagerly. He held out a hand. Yeah. I'm in. Just like you helped me. Let's do it together. Let's work together, to keep the peace. Jiujiu grinned and slapped Parker's hand. Together, they shouted. Keep the peace. They both laughed. Eventually, too hyped to stay up any longer, Parker headed back to his room. Jiujiu lay on his bed, repairing Werewolf 1 in the mechanical space and thinking about his next steps. First, he needed to find a way to drop out of school. He was done with studying. Second, Sky was a loose cannon. Now that she knew his secret, he had to get her on his side completely. Otherwise, when Coulson found out, he'd be done for. Besides, Sky was powerful. Having her on his side would be a huge advantage. Third, he had to find Wakanda and buy vibranium to complete his world mission. For Jiujiu, that was the toughest part. Vibranium wasn't easy to come by, and Wakanda wasn't easy to find.